Hello, everyone. So we will be beginning the webinar now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are joining from. Thank you so much for deciding to spend some time with us today. I'm Vikram Gulati, Director of Product Marketing at Persistent Systems. And it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Snehal Parekh, Vice President of Product Management and Strategy for Enterprise Products at Persistent Systems. Prior to Persistent, he was involved with Radia Client Automation at HP as well. We have a lot of interesting content to share with you, including who Persistent Systems is, transition of Radia from HP to Persistent, the trends with client automation, and last but not least, future of Radia. Just a few housekeeping items. We will be conducting a few polls during the webcast to get your impressions on what we are discussing. So we certainly appreciate your active engagement with us. Finally, you may enter your questions into the platform at any time during the presentation. We will make sure to answer as many of them after the presentation. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Snehal Parekh.
Vikram, thank you. And let me also echo your welcome to the audience as well. We appreciate the investment that you're making, not only in the product itself, but the time that you're spending with us. We feel like we've got some exciting news in terms of where we think the market is going, where we think our roadmap is going to take us, and we absolutely welcome your partnership in this discussion. As you can see on the title slide that I'm presenting, I have my name, my title, and most importantly, I have my email address as well. For those of you who I've not had already a chance to contact or meet, if you ever have a question even after this webinar, please feel free to contact me with any questions you may have about the product, the direction, the market. I'm happy to enter into that dialogue with you, and we want to make this as open a partnership as possible. Okay? So let's get going. There's a standard disclaimer. We're going to talk about not only what's going on in the marketplace, but we're going to start giving you insight into what's going on in our future releases and where our investment model is taking us. With that in mind, this is our understanding of where we will be investing and delivering products to the best of our knowledge. As everyone knows, due to market conditions, due to requests that comes from customers such as yourself, our roadmap is subject to change, but as I mentioned, this is our understanding of our roadmap based on what we've heard back from you, the customer, and what we're observing in the marketplace going forward. So let's start out the discussion with a background on who is Persistent. So I want to give a little bit of background on who Persistent Systems is at a quick glance. So Persistent Systems is not a new company. We have been in business for over 23 years. We are a publicly traded company on the Indian Stock Exchange with offices worldwide. We have a strong cash position, a strong financial position. We've been growing at about 23% year over year for the past few years, and we now have over 7,000 employees worldwide. As I mentioned, Persistent is located in Pune, India. That's our worldwide headquarters, but we also have U.S. headquarters in Santa Clara, California, and we have offices across Europe and other parts of Asia as well. Now, you may know, if you go to the website, you may understand Persistent to be primarily an engineering services company. And by that I mean we are well recognized for building products for other companies. Some products that you may know of on an everyday basis actually were developed, tested, and taken to market by Persistent. But a little known secret, or what's becoming now a more prevalent secret about Persistent Systems, is we actually have a key focus on products. We have, for the past few years, been taking multiple products to market. Products including Location Manager for mobile carriers, our cloud disaster recovery as a service, a business process management capability, and also in partnership with Tivoli Systems from IBM, the NetCool Performance Manager portfolio of products. And most recently, we've picked up Radia Client Automation from Hewlett-Packard. So again, the reason for this slide is very simple. While we are obviously recognized as a world-leading enterprise engineering services company, we are also now building a portfolio of enterprise-class software products as well. And so we're not new to this business. This, the acquisition or the bringing forth of the Radia Client Automation product line is not new to us. We are well-versed in this concept of product management, and you'll see this aspect of our portfolio growing in the future. So let me focus a little bit on the transition from HP to Persistent, because I know I've spoken to many customers about this, but there's still many customers that I've not spoken to as well. So very succinctly put, Persistent Systems entered into an IP licensing agreement with HP, and that was executed earlier this year, around the February-March timeframe. And what does that mean? HP has now granted Persistent a full license to the IP that was known as HP Client Automation. And with that grant of that license, Persistent Systems is now responsible for the ongoing development work, the ongoing roadmap, the ongoing support, ongoing services, and ongoing sales of client automation. But with that having been said, we still have a very strong partnership with HP. And so I'll turn your attention to the licenses box. So as customers, and then even new prospects, as they would wish to purchase additional licenses of Radia Client Automation, they have some options. They can go directly to Persistent Systems. HP is continuing to be a reseller of Radia Client Automation. And we also have a number of partnerships in every geography that we call reseller partners, from which you are also able to purchase licenses of Radia Client Automation. So again, while we are responsible for the ongoing product set, we still have a partnership with HP, and we have a strong channel play, and of course we have our own direct sales force from which you can purchase licenses. I also want to focus a little bit on the support aspect as well, and I think this is very important to all of our existing customers. First and foremost, if you have a current valid support contract in place with HP, you will still continue to go directly to HP for your initial support requests. On the back end, this will now be serviced by Persistent, but your primary initial interface, if you are an active support customer of HP Client Automation, will still be through HP. Once your contract expires and it's up for renewal, you will no longer renew it with HP. You will now renew it with Persistent Systems. And we've already set up a mechanism by which we will transition your trouble tickets. You'll be given access to a new support portal for Persistent. You'll have new phone numbers where you can also contact Persistent for support cases. We have a robust support mechanism where you can download documentation, get FAQ answers, and we've even launched a customer forum as well, where you can collaborate with other customers all directly from the support portal that we've created. So we feel like there's going to be a very smooth transition for you, and once you become a Persistent support customer, there's a lot of information that will now be available to you as you gain more value from your investment in Radia Client Automation. So again, as Vikram mentioned, if there's any questions about this, please start asking them, and then we will address them when we have the Q&A session at the end of this discussion. So let me turn my attention. So now that I've focused a little bit on what the transition was, let me turn my attention to what's going on in the marketplace, because what's going on in the marketplace is actually driving our roadmap to a large degree. So there's some common themes that have been around in the endpoint management market for a while, but they're starting to gain a little bit more importance. For example, the concept of security and compliance. Every industry, every customer that we interact with, that we have partnerships with, they are subject to some set of government regulations or even internal regulations, industry requirements, and as I mentioned, corporate governance as well. And the concept of endpoint management, ensuring that the right configurations are adhered to, the right software is distributed, the right security patches are deployed, all of those, and then most importantly, the right reporting mechanisms are in place as well. All of those combine towards making sure that we deliver an offering through Radia Client Automation that helps you, the customer, meet your security and compliance needs. This is, again, has been a core competency of ours for a number of years, but this is starting to become more and more prevalent in the marketplace, and our customers are looking for more from the Radia product line. Rapid change. I don't think it's any secret that not only with the rapid introduction of new device technology, whether it be from a new mechanisms in terms of service delivery, what is demanded of us as end users of Radia Client Automation in terms of being able to support these devices and also being able to deliver world-class services to our internal or external customers, that is not changing at all. And the number of devices, and I'll speak to this in a little bit more detail on the next slide, but the proliferation of the new device technology, the new form factors, the new underlying hardware technologies, all of these are driving changes in how we approach what we're doing in terms of Radia Client Automation, our roadmap, and it's also driving some of the new initiatives and the demands that are being placed on you as the operations team around endpoint management as well. And then lastly, the diverse workforce. Whether it be that your companies are supporting work from home, whether your companies are supporting this concept of bring your own device or consumerization, and the simple fact that, while historically employees or partners in your company had maybe one device, now they have multiple devices from which they want to be able to access the same content and applications. And oh, by the way, it certainly requires the same level of configuration, security, and app deployment that they've come to expect from Radia Client Automation. So this concept of diverse workforce is really driving a lot that we're doing in terms of, again, new platforms, new devices, new application sets, and new content that we want to be able to manage, support, and deliver through Radia Client Automation. As I mentioned, there's some changes that are taking place in the industry, and I suspect that every one of you are facing some aspect of this challenge. First, from a technology standpoint, the concept of connecting regularly through the internet through a mobile device is now considered a normal course of business. It is estimated that 50% of all people connect regularly to the internet via mobile devices today. And the bulk of those people are connecting through the internet and even through intranets within our own companies to be able to gain access to things such as their corporate email accounts, corporate applications, expense reporting tools, whatever the case might be. So the concept of connectivity and mobile device is becoming more and more prevalent. I read a survey recently, an assessment that says there were 1.5 billion active smartphones worldwide. And the interesting number beyond that was that 72% of them, at least in this survey, were Android-based. About, I believe they estimated 18% were iOS-based. So again, this technology evolution, more towards Android-based and even iOS-based devices, connecting to the internet in a mobile fashion is driving some of the work that we're doing. The changing workforce. I talked about some of the consumerization and bring your own device. 56% of employees are now allowed to select their own smartphone, not the IT departments that are mandating this. Again, this puts more pressure on us as IT organizations in order to be able to manage those devices, configure them, and most importantly, secure them going forward. It's estimated that 29% of employees spend time working outside of the office at least once a week. Again, what does that mean? That means that they expect to have connectivity to the internet and the intranet. They demand connectivity to their corporate applications, and they want to have a seamless experience as if they were still working inside the office, again, putting more pressure on us as IT departments. And then lastly, the business models are evolving as well. It's estimated that this trend is going to continue. There's going to be 2 trillion devices connected to the internet by 2020. So this is going to be the new paradigm of how do I not only allow connectivity through the internet, but how do I manage across the internet as well. And we're also starting to see device manufacturers, whether they be Microsoft with Surface tablets, whether it be Google with their Android tablets, and every, Lenovo, Asus, anyone else. They're starting to support, organizations and protocols such as Open Mobile Alliance Device Management. And so what that means is the concept of, what is a device? Is it a mobile device or is it a standard PC device? That is blurring going forward. More and more of these devices are now being based on MDM standards and MDM protocols. So this is one of the key driving forces that we have beyond Radia Client Automation in terms of being able to support not only the protocols for the traditional PCs, they're not going anywhere, but also being able to support this new class of devices that look like PCs, behave like PCs, but are now based on MDM and other Mobile Alliance protocols and standards going forward. So you'll see some of the changes in our roadmap that will mark the change, or at least an addition, if you will, to the standards that we support today and our ability to support some of these new devices going forward. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Vikram for just a second because we do have a couple of survey questions that we want to get to, and all around this concept of the transformation in the industry, the new devices that are coming forward, and what it is that you're being asked to support as IT organizations and users of Radia Client Automation.
Thank you, Snehal. And the first question, folks, is time frame related. When does your company expect to manage traditional endpoints and mobile devices using a single set of tools? As Snehal mentioned, there's so many devices that are going to be outside that you would need to be able to manage them effectively with a single set of tools. Of the answers, you can only select one. So please take a few minutes. I hope you can all see them, and I can already see a couple of you responding. But please take a few seconds and give us your input.
Vikram, do we need to give directions on how to access the polling question, or is it pretty? Are people able to get there?
Yeah, I'm already seeing folks responding, and yeah, 52% of the attendees have voted as of now.
Good.
And it's climbing immediately.
Excellent. Thank you.
Once again, we appreciate everybody's input here, and I'll be happy to share the results as soon as I close the poll in just a few seconds. Okay. So looks like 77% of you did respond, and for folks who must be curious, almost 30% of you are looking for solutions to do this in the next 12 months. And 13% of the attendees feel that they're already there today, which is great. So 30% is a pretty big segment who feel they're going to be looking for this in the next 12 months. Okay, so this was one. Snehal, why don't you proceed to the next slide, and then we'll run the other poll.
Okay. So
in a slide or two.
Yes, thank you. So what this is resulting in is, traditionally with Radia Client Automation, we focused on the devices at the bottom, starting with PCs and laptops, moving to tablets. We've had some VDI solutions and mobile devices as well. But because, as I mentioned, one of the trends in the industry is that the user now has access to multiple devices, they also have the ability in many organizations that they have corporate apps at the top, like Microsoft Exchange for email or Adobe to read PDF files. But on the same device, they also have the flexibility of looking at their own personal email, like Gmail, or in some cases running games like Angry Birds. And so what the focus that we're going to have going forward with Radia Client Automation is how do we move away from just managing the device, and how do we move towards managing what the user is attempting to do across a spectrum of devices across a spectrum of different applications and content that they want access to as well. So our objective, and if I could put a tagline on what we're trying to do in terms of unified management across all of these touch points with Radia Client Automation, it's really around delivering a consistent experience for the user regardless of their touch point. And we're going to move this beyond just the traditional touch points as well. As you'll see in some later discussions, we're going to start looking at every touch point from which a customer or an employee can interact with your organization. So let me talk a little bit about what Radia Client Automation is today, and how our vision supports what I just talked about in the industry. Listen, anyone who's a current user of Radia Client Automation understands that we are a very scalable and an industry-leading capability around what we call desired state policy-based endpoint lifecycle management. We can manage the entire configuration stack, starting from the OS all the way through applications and content. We've added the capability from physical and virtual devices. We offer security in the form of patches, as well as being able to work with third-party antivirus, anti-malware kinds of solutions as well. We have scalability. We have some clients that are running and managing over 400,000 endpoints regularly with Radia Client Automation. And so with our core satellite architecture, we feel like not only do we have unparalleled scalability, but we have unparalleled redundancy and fault tolerance as well. And ultimately, I mentioned some of these large-scale deployments. The objective, because of the desired state policy-based management solution, the objective is really to allow you to manage as a heterogeneous set of endpoints, the most scalable set of endpoints, with the lowest overhead possible and the lowest admin to device ratio in the marketplace. So again, but where do we want to start taking this in the future? It's not just about endpoint computing devices. It's not just about desktops. It's not just about tablets. It's about mobile devices. Many customers don't realize that we manage today, ATMs for some of our banking customers. We manage point-of-sale terminals for our retail customers. And we're looking at unique handheld systems for some of our travel and transportation customers, some of our medical customers as well. And so we have a very simple philosophy in terms of the tools and the endpoints that we can manage with Radia today. One is if it's IP enabled. We have to be able to put an agent on it, and we have to be able to communicate with that agent. That's one of the core value props of Radia Client Automation. The second piece is that the device must run some variant of a standard operating system. So we support many flavors of Windows. Windows Mobile, Windows CE. We support a number of different operating systems on Windows. Similarly on the Linux side, Red Hat, SUSE, Ubuntu, Debian. We support a number of different Red Hat flavors. And because of the transition in the marketplace, we've now started introducing with our most recent release the ability to support iOS, Android, and Mac OS as platforms as well. And what we're starting to see is as our customers are looking to consolidate their management infrastructure, they don't want to have a separate tool to manage every one of these endpoints. And what we're finding is that they're turning to Radia. They've already made the investment in deploying Radia in the infrastructure, the distribution mechanism, the core satellite, and all of the agents. And so adding additional devices, adding additional policies tends to be the most cost-effective way for these customers to be able to manage the entire spectrum of endpoints rather than having multiple tools, having multiple infrastructures, and having multiple costs with different vendors to be able to manage all of these touch points. So this is a very powerful statement that we're making going forward. So with that, Vikram, I think we've got some other survey questions at this point as well.
Yeah. Let's do 2 polls at this point. So the first one here is Radia can manage, as Nehal was saying, any endpoint with the standard operating system, such as Windows, Windows Mobile, Android, Linux, etc., that is connected to the network. So please select one of them. Do you manage endpoints other than laptops, desktop, server, mobile, etc.? So I'll give everybody a minute to just think through it and give their input. And endpoints other than laptops, desktop, server, and mobile could be things like ATM machines and others. Snehal, any comments there on what else could be endpoints other than laptops, desktop, server, mobile?
Yeah, handheld devices, for example, kiosks, payment systems, devices specific to your industry, in the medical profession, some diagnostic equipment as well. Even in telecommunications, if you look at a set-top box these days, they are running some form of either Windows or Linux. And so those are, I think that this is part of the imagination that we're, looking at in terms of working with our customers as partners to look at new opportunities as well.
Great. So as of now, almost 60% of the attendees have said that they have endpoints that can be managed by Radia, and 33% of the attendees have said that they have endpoints other than the traditional laptops, desktop, servers, and mobile.
Good. That's impressive. Good number.
Yeah. So with that, I'll move on to one more poll, and this is regarding virtual desktop infrastructure. Were you going to talk more about this, Nehal, or is this a good time to run that poll as well?
Yeah, let me touch upon that just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So what we're starting to see in many of our customers is, again, primarily due to remote workers, primarily due to remote offices, the costs associated with a full-blown PC oftentimes far outweighs the benefit that these remote locations or workers gain benefit. And so they're starting to see more and more, or we're starting to see more and more of a deployment for virtual desktop technology alongside of traditional PC management technology as well. And as I mentioned, we've had capabilities in market around virtual applications, ThinApp and others, as well as some partnerships that we have with some VDI vendors as well. But what I'd really like to find out in this survey is, what are your plans around VDI? Is VDI becoming more important in your organization? And what are your future plans? So, Vikram, with that as a backdrop, I think we should look at the survey question.
Yeah, sure. So, is your company deploying virtual desktop infrastructure in production environment? Please select one of the following. I'll give everybody a minute or so to think through it. I had to abbreviate a few words because of space limitations. So in the first one, infra suggests infrastructure. For the third one, the last word is deployment. So almost 70% have voted already, and 44% have selected the second option. Yes, we have some of our endpoint infrastructure running. So almost everybody is at some point or at some place in their journey. and 24% selected the first one, where they mentioned that they already have deployed it across the entire infrastructure. So 24% across the entire infrastructure, and 44% they have it in some of their infrastructure.
So again, those are numbers that support what we're seeing more and more in the marketplace. They're starting to support the trends that we're looking at, as well as you'll start seeing us as a result of this increased awareness. Again, our customers have asked us, can we deliver a single tool that will allow them to manage both the physical and the virtual infrastructures, thereby reducing their cost and leveraging further the investments that they've already made in Radia. So I encourage you to certainly contact me, contact your sales rep, and let's start working on specific partnerships around what we can do to enhance the management capability that you have with Radia into the VDI world as well. Okay? So let's move forward. And then I did want to conclude this section by saying, again, I've mentioned some of the deployments that we have around large deployments, over 400K devices. We've got even HP internally in the upper right-hand corner. They're still a customer of ours. They manage over 320,000 devices. We have banks all over the world that are managing well over 100,000 devices. One bank, a global bank, manages over 380,000 devices using Radia. So we have a number of different success stories and customers that are seeing significant value by deploying Radia Client Automation in their environment. So what is the future of Radia? So this is where I want to really focus in on the roadmap. And before I get into the specifics of the roadmap, I do want to highlight a few things. And this is actually part of the transition from HP to Persistent, as well as demonstrating our commitment to the product, to the roadmap, and to you, our customers, as well. So first and foremost, we have just built and opened, I would say not just, probably it's been on the order of 6 months. We opened up a state-of-the-art research and development facility in Bangalore, India. And as part of that facility, we now have, I would say, 50% more developers on Radia than when we were last with HP. So Persistent has already made a significant investment in growing the staff that is working on Radia, building a new facility or opening a new facility, and allowing us new test equipment and a new test environment as well. In addition, we've also fully staffed our worldwide support organization as well. Again, with as many people, if not a few more, than what HP had in terms of the support organization. And then lastly, as part of this facility in Bangalore, we also have a Q&A staff to test all of our products and ensure the highest quality going forward. So I did want to highlight the investments that we're making. We are fully committed to this product, and we think that the future and the growth opportunities are limitless going forward. With that having been said, so I've spoken to you about our current customers. I've spoken to you about what some of the trends are in the marketplace. So how does that impact our roadmap going forward? So there are a few things that I absolutely highlight to every customer, and I want to make sure that I cover today. First and foremost, we see a tremendous opportunity to extend the number of devices that we support beyond what we support today. I've already given you the criteria on what we consider to be a manageable endpoint. I've already spoken to you about some of the changes in the marketplace. So it's no secret that I would say mobile, handheld, those kinds of devices are absolutely part of our roadmap going forward. The other piece, however, and I want to go to the left just a little bit, is around the improvements around the user experience. So on the one hand, I'm very proud to say that Radia has industry-leading capabilities. There are very few products, in my opinion, that have as much capability as Radia does and the flexibility that Radia provides through its product. The challenge, however, is that there's a lot of complexity today with Radia, and I'll be the first person to admit that this can be a complex product at times. And part of that complexity is around the user interfaces that we deliver with the product. Not only do we have multiple user interfaces, depending upon how many you've deployed, it could be as many as 8 or 9 different user interfaces, but many of these interfaces are built on different technologies. Many of these interfaces don't have contextual awareness of what the other interfaces are doing. And so it makes it very difficult to determine, where and how to extract the value from Radia. So one of the key commitments you have from me and from my entire organization is really around improving the user experience. We've called upon people outside of the Radia development team, part of the 7,000 person workforce that we have in Persistent, who've been building better user experiences for other companies and other products to come work with us. Come help us in terms of modernizing and consolidating and streamlining and overall improving the user experience of Radia. Now this is not going to be a single release effort. Improving the user experience is going to be a multi-release effort, but as you'll see when I talk about the next release coming up, we've already started making progress around improving the user experience for our customers. And again, this is a place where we welcome dialogue and interaction with you, the customers. If you have any guidance for us in areas that need to be streamlined, types of interfaces that need to be consolidated, we're happy to work with you. In fact, we've even put together some mock-ups of some options of user interface technologies that we want to get feedback from. If I haven't sent you this already, and if you're interested, please contact me, and I'm happy to work with you on that as well. Similarly, if you move to the upper right-hand corner, this is part of user experience, but I want to call it out separately, and it's really around reporting. Again, Radia is a very powerful capability. All of you that use Radia today know the power that it delivers. However, oftentimes you get asked by your management team or other people in the organization, can we demonstrate and report against the value that Radia actually provides? And oftentimes it's difficult. The data that you need to report against is inside of one of several databases inside of Radia Client Automation. However, getting access to that data, knowing which reports that you want to generate, and how to correlate the various data elements can be difficult at times. So one of the other initiatives that we have is really around improving our reporting capabilities. And this is an area where I absolutely need and welcome your input. There are a lot of things that we can do around reporting, around not just the UI, but how do reports get generated, how do data elements, how are they rendered, and then how are the actual reports rendered as well. And many of you have actually built best practices yourself because you had no choice, and we want to learn from you as much as present to you as well. So if you have ideas, again, around better reporting interfaces, better reporting performance, please get in touch with us because we want to have that collaborative initiative together with you in terms of making our reporting capabilities a lot better so you can demonstrate the value of Radia to your customers and your management teams within your organizations. Going forward, I'm going to skip to the industry-specific solutions piece. Again, Radia historically, as our other tools in this industry, tend to be very generic. For example, if we recognize that it's a Windows box, we will treat it as a Windows box. Now, we don't differentiate oftentimes between is it a Windows PC, is it a Windows mobile device, or is it a Windows ATM. So what we want to start doing going forward is we want to put in capabilities out of the box in Radia that are industry-specific and device-specific as well. I mean, the clear example that I'll give you is, many of our customers have gone through an upgrade from, say, Windows XP to Windows 7. And the paradigm that you use oftentimes is you'll give your IT organizations, or your IT organizations will have 48 to 72 hours in order to execute that migration from Windows XP to Windows 7. Now let's transition to an ATM. When an application or the operating system for an ATM needs to be upgraded, that window is never 48 hours or 72 hours. Typically, it's 15 minutes. Because if that ATM is not up and running within that 15-minute change window, then the bank or the financial institution is losing money. So again, it's not just about recognizing that the devices are different, but there are different service level objectives, service level agreements based on the type of device it is and the functional value that it provides as well. So going forward, we're going to work with you, and you'll hear us start announcing more and more of what we consider to be industry-specific solutions around banking, around retail, travel, healthcare. And with the next release, we will start out by making some cosmetic changes. So for example, when we recognize and discover a device, you'll start seeing icons for that device that are relevant to that device, so that if it's multiple devices running Windows, say a PC and an ATM, you'll start having the ability to assign an ATM icon to just those ATMs and a PC icon to those PCs. It may be a visual element in the upcoming release, but it will at least allow you to be able to manage groups of like devices a lot easier, and then we'll start working with you on more industry-specific, SLA-based management going forward. So this is a big initiative of ours as well. And then lastly, I want to talk about the cloud and hosted deployment models. So management overall, systems management, service management is really moving more towards the cloud. You're starting to see this more and more with the service desk implementations and other kinds of management tools. And we believe that client automation is no different. So you'll hear us announce very shortly the ability to manage or deploy Radia in a cloud, and to be able to manage your endpoints, having the core, possibly the satellite, or some combination, some hybrid model of being able to deploy Radia in the cloud. And we believe that there's tremendous benefits there if cloud is an initiative that your company is undertaking. We think that we can help you eliminate or reduce some of your infrastructure costs. We believe that we can eliminate some of the challenges that organizations have had in terms of upgrading Radia from one release to the next by having it managed in the cloud. We believe that there is an ROI statement that we can deliver to customers around a cloud deployment model. And so you'll hear us release some information around being able to deploy Radia in the cloud very shortly. And again, if this is an initiative that your company has, we welcome the opportunity to work with you on that aspect going forward. And Vikram, I think with that, we have a sort of question around cloud-based deployment models as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I was just going to also mention we have some very interesting comments and questions also coming up that I'm assigning to you, Snehal, so you should be able to see on the window while I'm running the poll so that you can address them appropriately.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have some time for Q&A as well. Okay?
Yeah. So this is a SaaS-related question, folks. What would be the primary reason for your organization to become users of SaaS-based client automation solutions such as Radia? So please take a few seconds to go over that. I think the initial response is suggesting that SaaS is still new for a lot of folks, so they have still to evaluate how they can best evolve client automation and use it in a SaaS environment. That seems to be the response so far. Almost 45% have not considered a SaaS-based solution for client automation yet.
Okay.
But I mean, but those who have 27% are saying that the reason they want to consider SaaS is to eliminate effort and cost to maintain a client automation infrastructure such as Radia.
Mm-hmm.
So 65% have voted already. So I think we have a good response. I'm going to close this poll at this time.
Okay.
So back to you, Snehal. We have about 12 minutes. We have about 12 minutes remaining for the slides and the Q&A.
Yes, and then I have only one or two more slides to present, and then we'll get right into the questions. Okay?
Sure.
So, what does that mean? In terms of those are the themes that we want to deliver. And when I think about the investments that we're going to make, it's really going to be in three key areas. One is what I call core functionality. And when I talk about core functionality, it means everything from platform coverage expansion. So, with the upcoming release, and so let me digress for just a second. We have an upcoming release coming called Radia 9.1. And it is going to be available in the first quarter of 2014. So, you can imagine with that kind of schedule, we are just about finished with our last development sprint, and we are entering into the Q&A aspect of Radia 9.1. Again, it will be available in first quarter, and we are putting all our efforts in terms of making it the highest quality release that we can and deliver it on time. So as I mentioned, one of the areas that we really want to focus on is core functionality, platform coverage expansion. So this is, again, supporting Windows, Windows 8.1, Windows 8.1 RT, all of those flavors that have been released. For those of you that are using either Surface tablets or HP Elite pads, for example, you'll notice that there's some underlying hardware changes referred to as UEFI, a new method by which operating systems and applications get deployed. They don't support a legacy BIOS. And so we've had a number of customers come to us and say, when can we have support for UEFI devices? And I'm happy to say that we've already built that capability, definitely for 32-bit UEFI devices, and we're also going to commit to doing 64-bit UEFI devices as well. And we've had a chance and an opportunity to do a POC with a number of customers around that already. So again, if this is of importance to you and you want to see how we're going to be able to manage a UEFI device, we're happy to set up a WebEx for you and your organization to very quickly walk you through some of the work that we've done. Let me move on to patch management. We're absolutely going to improve the performance. I get told over and over again that being able to improve our patch management performance capability is important to our customers, as well as coverage, not only for the Windows platforms, but for third-party applications, non-Windows environments as well. So you'll see some improvements that we've made in the performance, as well as our coverage for some of the non-Windows environments, starting with the 9.1 release that's coming out in first quarter. And then MDM. You'll see some significant changes. I actually had a demo yesterday of some of the new UIs that we built around MDM management. So our goal, again, is to have a single tool to be able to manage all of your devices, from a single touch point, from a single tool, and really improve the ROI statements that you have around Radia Client Automation. Usability. I mean, this is extremely important to me, and you'll see this as we have this conversation in the next quarter or the next quarter after that, as we talk about the future roadmap. You'll see usability as a common theme across each one of those until we get it 100% solved. But we're going to release, as part of 9.1, an enhanced dashboard capability. We're going to start modernizing the UI. You'll see a different look and feel. You'll see some consolidation. You'll see, an easier way to get access to critical dashboards and other information. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to start introducing this concept of relevant icons for endpoints, making it easier for you to manage multiple endpoint types, which is going to be very important going forward. And then lastly, the bucket around value delivery. And so we want to be able to deliver more value. And for example, if you're interested in the cloud-based solution, reducing your capital expense, we're ready to have that conversation with you now. We're going to improve our bandwidth management capabilities and our consumption capabilities, because many of you do support endpoints that are in bandwidth constraint, remote locations, and so on and so forth. And so we want to be able to improve as much as we can around some of the bandwidth utilization for Radia Client Automation. And then lastly, if you have a specific device, if you have a device that's specific to your company, your organization, or your industry, we want to be able to work with you on setting up whatever those service level objectives are, the SLOs, manage those endpoints, and deliver what we think are going to be very unique solutions going forward, custom tailored to the industries that you happen to be in. So with that, before I get into the Q&A section, I've conveyed a lot of information to you, and I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being a customer. I want to thank you for being a partner. And I thank you for your time today and your investment that you've made. And as you can tell, I'm very excited about some of the possibilities that we have working together with Radia Client Automation, and I look forward to working with each of you, and I know my team does as well. So again, thank you very much. And Vikram, if it's okay, I'm going to transition over to the Q&A section, okay?
Yeah, please. I hope you can see all the questions on the platform.
Yeah, so I don't know, I'm projecting them. I don't know if everyone else can see them as well. Are you able to see them?
No, I believe only you and I can see them, Nehal.
Okay.
So I think we can address as many as possible, and the rest we know who has asked, so we can certainly reach out to them via email. But go ahead and take a stab at as many as you can. Absolutely.
No, thank you. Okay. So the first one, and first of all, I appreciate it. Tom Hoglum. So it was more of a comment. I really think your documentation is easier to search for issues and other support documents than with the HP website. So I thank you for that comment, and that was one of our primary objectives. I mean, we really want to make it easier for you to get the information that you need and get more value out of Radia Client Automation. So again, thank you for the comment, and please give us more feedback if you think we can do anything else to make it easier as well. The second question comes from, do we have any plans to expand Mac support, including deploy images or OS to Mac hardware? So as I mentioned, we do support some basic capabilities around OS management for Mac. Absolutely, it is on the roadmap. What has not been the case, unfortunately, is that not very many of our customers in the past have deployed Mac as a deployment tool or as an endpoint tool, but we're starting to see that more and more. So as we see the market opening up for it, absolutely, you'll see some Mac support in 9.1, but we'd love to work with you to make sure that if there's additional capabilities, especially around deploying images on Mac hardware, we certainly would like to do that as well. Okay. Next question is around how will the integration with HP Live Network be handled going forward for vulnerability updates? That's an excellent question. So for the short term, it is going to be business as usual. We will still continue to leverage HP Live Network. Part of the transition, and again, credit to HP for making sure that there will be minimal impact to customers as part of the transition. They have continued to allow us to use HP Live Network as a distribution mechanism. Going forward, we're looking at a couple of options. We're actually, because it's not just going to be about vulnerabilities, but we also, and updates and patches, we also have some other updates that we'd like to present to our customers as well. And so we're investigating either continuing on with Live Network or even creating our own download portal and mechanism that's persistent owned as well. So again, whatever direction that we choose to go, in the short term it will still be Live Network, but in the long term we will make sure that there's minimal disruption and impact to the customers going forward. Okay. Yeah, so here's an interesting question that came up. The statement was Radia support teams do not have adequate tools to troubleshoot and require more number of resources for supporting than competitive products. I hope that you're making a historical statement. As I mentioned, as part of our investments in the team and our facilities in Bangalore, absolutely, we want to make sure that not only do we have a world-class team in terms of people, but we have world-class tools in terms of resources available to our teams as well. And so you will start seeing us do more work in terms of web etsing into your customer environments, making sure that we have the right tools to be able to diagnose problems as well. But again, if you have any recommendations or suggestions for what we could do better or differently, please let us know. What your recommendations are, and we're happy to take those into consideration as well. So the next question is, many customers are running on older versions of Radia, say 7.8 Classic. How long do we plan on supporting those? So one thing I forgot to mention is that when we announced 9.1, we are also going to announce the end of life, end of support time frame for 7.8 and 7.9. And so when 9.1 is available in GA, we're going to offer a 2-year window for customers to migrate from 7.8 and 7.9 onto a more recent supported version. So we will announce the end of life of it, but we will make sure we will give an adequate 2-year window for customers to be able to execute that migration. So again, there will be minimal impact to you as a customer, right? There's a question from a customer that I spoke with saying that we're postponing 9.1. So at one point we did say that we would try to get 9.1 completed by the end of this calendar year. And because of quality reasons, because of new requests that we had from customers, we did have to postpone it. But remember, I said first quarter of 2014. I did not give a specific month. And so I would not assume that it's a 3-month delay. I know the customer who's asked this question, and I'm happy to get with you offline with more specific details. But let's not assume that it's going to be a 3-month delay, because that's not acceptable from my standpoint as well. Okay. So Vikram, unfortunately, I think we've hit the end of time, and there are about 4 or 5 other questions that I will absolutely make sure that we get answered for our customers. And again, these are fantastic questions. I appreciate the participation. I appreciate the feedback on the survey piece. And again, please contact me directly if you have any questions going forward as well.
Perfect. Absolutely. No, I think this was a very interesting webinar, and I hope the audience found it helpful. And by the flow of questions, I think there is a lot of interest here and a lot of potential for organizations to leverage client automation technologies such as Radia. So once again, I thank everybody for their time, and we will certainly be in touch. And stay tuned for more interactive webinars such as this one. We'll certainly be doing a lot more of these going forward and engage with you in many other ways. So thank you again for your time, everybody, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.